everyone, and welcome back. Today we have a very spicy list that I put together using the Leyline of Transformation. Now you might have seen this running around with the Ninjas deck using Kaido and a lot of that type of stuff to basically get emblems to make everything grow larger, but I'm going to change it up and I'm going to try my first crack at using this with skeletons. Now skeletons has been a thing for a while. It was kind of one of the better decks pre-rotation happening. It kind of fell off last set, but hopefully we can get this Leyline in play and have it deal some damage. And one of the main key pieces that we're going to do with some new cards here is we are going to replace a card like Rush of the Dread. So Rush of Dread has a mode on it for 5 mana. It's a spree card. I guess I could pull it up here. It doesn't take that much to do. So Rush of the Dread, as you can see, is 5 mana here. Target opponent loses half their life rounded up. So the combo was to play a Bloodletter of Aclazotz. If an opponent would lose life this turn, they lose twice that much life. Rush of Dread makes them lose half, therefore Bloodletter then makes them lose an additional half and they die. So this would take 10, Bloodletter would take the other 10, and it would remove our opponent politely from the game. So we get to replace that with a new creature. How fun! We have a 2/3 Death Touch Zombie Assassin. This is 3 mana. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, they lose half their life rounded up. Funny wording there. Whenever it dies, if no counters are on it, return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control with 2 stun counters. So this is a reoccurring threat that has Death Touch, therefore being a very good blocker if need be, as Death Touch can reach up with everything. So if our opponent's playing something like a Shieldred or something like that, we have a very nice solid creature to put in front of that. And then it also just happens to work out that Bloodletter is the follow-up turn for 4 mana, and if Unstoppable Slasher hits our opponent, we get to win the game kind of right there on the spot. So how do we get to this without our opponent interacting with us or kind of causing us problems? And that's to just try to play a very fast and aggressive early game while kind of protecting ourselves a bit with our spells. Being a Forsaken Miner, a 2/2 that can get a little bit bigger with our kind of key card in this deck, and Tinybones, an annoying card that a lot of opponents don't like you touching their stuff, so they will slap your hand and remove this card from play. And a Mockingbird to kind of make a copy of a lot of things. We do have Mockingbird make a copy of Unstoppable Slasher to win a game later, which is very sick, but most often it's probably going to copy a Forsaken Miner, be very good there, or like a token later on that we make. And then we have a couple of things to help keep us alive. A cut down with the mono red Leyline deck running around. There's only 2 of this because we are again trying to be an aggressive deck. We can't have too much removal or counter magic. And 3 go for the throws to just get a big lifelinker out of our road if that's what we need to be. There's a lot of emergence decks, so holding on to these is very important. And 2 counter spells to stop Sunfall from ruining our day, or even sometimes temporary lockdown depending on how the turn cycle goes. But with that said, we have 2 final cards. We have Satoru in here. This card is to just draw a couple additional cards if Forsaken Miner ever comes back with its bottom ability, or the Unstoppable Slasher re-enters the battlefield off of its die ability. Because if we go turn 1 Miner into Satoru, into the Unstoppable Slasher, a lot of times your opponent's going to have to remove the Slasher if they can. As you'll see, that's evident in one of the matches where we hit them for 4, and then they remove the Slasher instead of any creature that's hitting them that turn, which is very nice. So Satoru can get a little bit of value there, but it also gets value off the Dirge. This is a way to tutor up our Bloodletter if we need to for 5 mana, and we'll also put it into play if we activate it for all of its modes for a total of 5 mana, or we can use it to put in a lot of like cheaper stuff if we want to put in like a Gix and a Forsaken Miner, which normally would be pretty good because of Corpse of the Lost, with just the Miner being able to get haste off the corpse, but Gix sitting there drawing cards. However, this is where our kind of synergy with the Leyline comes into play. Leyline, if you don't know what this card does, I'll read it. I know it's a key card and I kind of glanced over it a bit, but if it's in your opening hand, you begin with it on the battlefield. Choose a creature type. We choose Skeleton. Creatures of the chosen type are the chosen type in addition to other types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. So everything everywhere is a skeleton if it is a creature, if this is in play. Now, Corpse of the Lost, a very, very strong card. I think one of the more underrated cards, just for the fact that we don't have a ton of skeletons to work with, and the new ones they gave us aren't necessarily keen on being aggressive creatures. But this says Skeletons Control get a 1/0 and have haste. Whenever it enters the battlefield, we make a 2/2. With Corpse of the Lost, it becomes a 3/2. At the beginning of an end step, if you control, or if you descend this turn, you may pay 1 life. If you do, return Corpse of the Lost back to our hand. So if we have any creatures or permanents enter the graveyard from anywhere via a surveil land or say a dirge that we put a creature in our graveyard, this will then trigger and we can pick it back up, making another skeleton. However, now that every creature in our deck happens to be a skeleton, thanks to Leyline, the slashers coming in with haste, a double damage, or a half life losing creature is very threatening. This play where we dirge back a Gix and a Forsaken Miner, where Forsaken Miner would be the only attacker. Now Gix can also attack as a 4/3 along with a 3/2 Forsaken Miner if we have a Corpse of the Lost in play. So it is a bit heftier than the normal builds where we kind of were a little bit lower to the ground. So you do have to kind of build to this. You're not going to have as super aggressive kind of early games. You're a bit more, you like fit in this range of aggro and mid-range where you kind of squeak in right before we start in the mid-range game or sometimes go long. Other than that, it's already a long intro. Going to hop into the games now. There was a lot to talk about as a new set often provides. But with that said, we do very, very well today. I think this deck might have legs overall. And with that said, if you all enjoy my content, please consider subscribing. Truly helps out the channel a ton. Let's go out there and see how much double damage we can truly do. Yep. Okay. Skeleton. In there, big dog. Everything's a skeleton now. I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna keep my hand regardless, and then I realized I had a ley line in it. Oh boy. Not me. I think weirdly enough, it's just this one. The most power that we can put in. Could be a Tinybones, but I'm not sold on that. Not sold quite yet. My mat so turned. Hello? Who did that? Sadie, was it you? Getting chainsawed right now? That's crazy. Fair enough. Fair enough. Alright, I played 22 lands and I've already found more than I would ever want in this match, to be honest with you. Honestly, probably should just held up the counterspell. But sure. Like, wow, this game's going well. And then I drew 2 lands. But it is what it is. Obviously, I'm not blocking this. No reason to block that ever. For the aggro deck, and if that ever dies, we get it back. But they play a second one. Not really surprised. Okay, Corpse is pretty solid. I don't have a card in the yard, so I'll attack with my 3/2. I don't think there's really a reason to have Tinybones attack here. Oh, they take the hit. Res Hood in would be pretty good for them here. Wouldn't be a fan myself, but we do have like really good draws in theory here. I think it's just double attack Brotherhood in me, to be honest with you. But we'll take the 2 because Brotherhood's in so good here. It gives him 2 treasures. Essentially, it makes that chainsaw huge and kills 4 creatures in total. Or they blow that up and we draw another one because we are a freak. We got so lucky to draw this other one. All right, well, down to 7, and very quickly the table's turning once we stop drawing lands. And I think it just goes to show how strong this card is in general. Obviously, would like to have a couple more cards from the new set, but this right now has done nothing. We have cards to make it do stuff, especially with this card. That's the whole point. There you may sacrifice another enchantment creature if you do. Draw 2 cards. Okay. I think that's what Ash was calling Mayhem Devil or something. I think that was the profile pick there. But 2 more mana here. I have 8 power on board. And if I get to my turn, I'll have a counter spell up, which can also bring back a skeleton, which is nice. And if they could pay it regardless, I still get to surveil, which means maybe Corpse will come back. Will they remove something on my turn, or will they do it on their turn? General consensus is like you always want to do it on your opponent's turn so they use their mana. But when you're tapped out like this, you kind of have to use it on your turn, but then now you have nothing to protect yourself on your turn, and it's a sketchy area regardless. We come away Leyline in this build specifically. Maybe not the move so far, but we'll keep trying. We got some stuff to do here. Depending what they play will be whether or not we play the shores into the sewer, holding like a cut down available, and then we can play a corpse kind of on curve here. Don't have a ley line in hand, but not necessary in this spot. Well, cut down is definitely getting used on that. I'll tell you that much. Depending what they do, we might even just play this land just to have don't make a sound, considering we found another land. Second Skrelv, sure. Hey, Leyline. Welcome to the game. I don't think we'll get to the point of playing this, although not necessarily the worst. Oh, we're playing auras. I'll run their turn down here. They can either keep this or I'll surveil too. Yeah, that's fine. Well, we have a plan, I guess. The way to go. I don't even think it can be. I need to find stuff to actually put on the board. Tinybones is a good one, even though they can technically give it protection, so it's a little weird. Now this is available to tap for blue or black because we have an island slash swamp. Go for the throat, bad, but good here, and that's for one specific reason. Because they have to activate Skrelv to get around Tinybones if they want this to hit me. Now we're probably going to see whatever the card name is. Ethereal Armor. I know of one aura that got reprinted this set, but I can't think of its name. Audacity is a good one. They attack, I will block. The only problem with go for the throat here is obviously Skrelv gets around it. Which is obviously the problem. But they are low on cards in hand. A little part of me wants to like opt for just playing the corpse here. But here's the scenario I just talked about. They will activate Skrelv to protect that, and then I can then go for the throat. Or I can do that now. I can attack them and bring back their Skrelv, which would be cool. With the green or white available, I feel like royal treatment's possible. So I just wait for them to do it again, I guess. And so I just pass, and they kind of have to commit everything on their turn. So end turn here. My hand's a little expensive. I'd love to either... At this point, we'd either want to draw lands or we want to draw actual action, which is weird. But Gix can kind of do both in a way. Obviously, no attack here, knowing I might be holding up interaction. Smart. It just kind of tells us that their hand's a dud in general. Undercity Sewer. Swamp. That means I can play 2/3 drops next turn. All right, so we're gonna change up our route. Let's slam this ley line. With 2 cards in hand, I don't feel like incredibly safe, but I feel safe enough to maybe do this. And then we look to jam the corpse plus the Gix, and we just hold this back again. Sure. Yeah. You flooding 2 on 22 lands as well, opponent. Sure. That's 6. Lot. Uh-huh. The problem is I just don't know if they have protection. That's the hardest part about all this. Let's play corpse. Play Gix. F6. What do I gotta do here? I have like 9 damage here, which puts me just short, I guess. I mean, I'm probably losing this regardless. I could go for removal, but I feel like they just have protection in hand. Oh boy. Take one. Find the rest. I don't get put that to another Audacity, but they get to put another short of putting a counter on it. I mean, most likely I'm dead regardless, but another land. Sure. Yeah. Okay. I was fully prepared to lose this game. Don't worry, we're going in. Yeah. All right. What is going on? I understand the big emphasis of getting rid of this. I just had a feeling that this was royal treatment, the card that puts an enchantment on a thing and then gives it protection, or like Snakeskin Veil. That's what these type of decks are going to play. And they always left up mana for it. Like, they could have played this a different turn. They could have played something else a different turn. So I always felt like they had it. So I just said, screw it. Like, let's try to win the game. And if they beat us, they beat us. And we go that route. And it pays off. Now, could I have been wrong and killing that would have guaranteed a win? Maybe, but I'm not sure. Oh, not Tater Tot, dude. I can't. Hey, we're first. Sweet. We can immediately go right into the Forsaken Miner, into a counterspell, or go for the throat. Yeah, I'm okay with this. Keep not having a Leyline in my hand, which might end being willing to keep my hand. So maybe that's like a, maybe that's a sign that I should probably change my game plan. Hold up counterspell or play Mockingbird, and I think the answer is play Mockingbird. Don't worry, I've learned from previous mistakes. I'm not going to overpay for that thing. Hopefully. Who knows? The video's not over yet. Alright. Move in. Yeah. Yeah. Let it go. You can counter this if you'd like. Or remove a thing. It will come back if you kill it, though. Yep. Which is fine. This comes back. And he gets 2 turns to untap right when we may or may not play a Bloodletter. Who knows? They're Overlord Tribal? No, they're Emergence. Man, those are so hard to look at, dude. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Or they're not even Emergent. Well, there's the green. This is what, like 5, so they can bring it back. They draw 2. They can do this. But I have removal, right? So, like, I guess he's just to slam him here. And then we just attack for a ton. And say you got a turn. And if your turn is play a green source, reanimate something, we just counter it. So far, I just kind of like the threat of this in the deck. It's a little weird. I think this is a little bit better than the other counter spells we've been playing because these cards are good, and maybe we should look at more options like that. But at the end of the day, I don't know. But if we had Leyline in play, like, how good would it have been? Because this could have attacked immediately. But with that said, they obviously removed it, so it's a little weird. I mean, sure. Okay. Surveil right away. I can go in the bin. Bin. All right, nothing going on. A great draw for us. That means we just get to kind of slam a couple things here. Now, temporary lockdown could break our backs, but it is what it is. Now I have a choice to make. I can play Corpse or I can play Gix, and I think Gix is the answer. Typically, anything here is the answer, but if it's a lockdown, then I think Corpse might be the answer. Oh no! I think we want pressure at that point, so I'm gonna play this. Get in, hit for 3, call it a day. And then if we find land, we're definitely Gix into Forsaken Miner. And then potentially going for 2 draws. Unlikely, but we'll try. I gain life, dude. They're unbeatable. Ooh, Phyrexian Arena. Weirdly enough, that helps. And we draw a land. Ooh, mamma mia. We're getting in for 6 here. We're drawing 2. They're down to 9. They'll get a double draw, of course. Now, a fear is obviously Sunfall. But at the end of the day, that stuff kind of happens. They will have to gain life at some point because of this. And Sunfall can't always protect them. But maybe they'll Sunfall me. I'm unsure. If they don't Sunfall me now, I win the game guaranteed, I think. Another temporary lockdown that absorbs stuff. Yes. Another skeleton off the top would be fantastic if they just have straight removal for Gix. That's fine as well. Not like fine, but it is what it is. Can't do much about it. So they do gain some. Very cool. This doesn't come back, and I draw another land, man. It's so far this game has been the epitome of like my games anyway. Like I'm on 22 lands, and this is the second time I've hit my 6th land drop, like on curve, kind of, which seems unlikely, which is weird. Normally 22 you're capping off at 5 for the most part, but we hit 6. It is what it is. Now their biggest fear is the fact that any skeleton hits are insanely difficult. I could counter this, or I could go for the throat this, and I think the answer is to go for the throat this, because I think if I countered it, I'd be a little more upset to not counter like the Sunfall next turn. There's a tap land. Okay, we remove it. Opponent, I swear if you make fun of me. Skeleton. Here's 3. Down to 2. Down to 1. And I have a counter spell. So if they don't have a way to gain life, they lose their Phyrexian Arena on their upkeep. And regardless, yeah, this doesn't save them because we have attacks for 3. Weirdly enough, Leyline was fine. I know it. And we counter that. One of the reasons we use that removal. And we find a 7th land. Arena? Do we need to have a conversation? But cool, I guess. We haven't even had Leyline in the openers, and it's been going well. Whether Leyline in the openers will actually be worse, unsure yet, but we'll keep going. Oh, yeah, wait, we get to keep this hand. Sweet. We'll try it. This is definitely a hand that we're looking to submit. Don't look at me. Done. Boom. Yeah, I'm dangerous. I'm crazy. All right, we lost. Dude, can you imagine? I mean, if they put a Leyline in, we could have. On the draws is a little tough here because now we'd be able to hold up this counter spell, but we'll see what happens. Gonna be a tough matchup regardless. Now I can come off the old special truck spot. Now they're not attacking into my 1/1, which gives me a lot of promise, obviously. Am I supposed to counter that? No, I don't think so. That's tough. Tinybones. Oh, we get that one though. Surprised they actually committed all that, but I'll take it. You also have Death Touch? Dude, honestly, Unstoppable Slasher, kind of a thug. Kind of a thug. That's all I'm saying. We hold. We hold. I could have attacked and played their Slick Shot, which would have been a skeleton. Isn't that kind of weird? Forsaken Miner, sure. 3 cards in hand, not really attacking. I can attack, but they'll block most likely if I had to guess. I guess is it supposed to be this corpse Forsaken Miner, I suppose? And we just kind of hope this works. Now they can obviously block with skin. Okay. I thought they would block with Scamp to prevent getting hit for a ton so they can kill the Tinybones, but I guess not. Now, it's a great card. Don't get me wrong. It's a great card. I could still be dead, obviously. They have way too much, like, damage across the board here for me not to potentially be dead. Another Trampler. We're, like, weirdly in danger. Are you tapped out? All right. So, interestingly enough, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So, we have to block this entirely, I think. This will deal 5 to me. So, 5. Jeez. Oh, my. Math's hard. What's the math here? Yeah, so this will deal 5 because 1 would trample over, plus it dies, so it'll deal 4 for 5. And then that will be 5, 12, 16. Tough day at the office. Because if I don't block this... Oh, I miscounted. It's 1. Skeleton off the top? Or they kill a creature. Okay, interesting. Wait, we get there because the Mockingbird? Let's go, dude. 1, 2. All right, to be fair, you know what? I'm overpaying on purpose. I'm overpaying on purpose. You guys can't stop me. I want to copy this one. It's got flying. So they'll take 6 here, then lose half their life rounded up. So they'll die by 1. So the bird only needed to be X equals 2. Because the bird's worded a little weird. I notoriously overpaid for this in one of the videos, and trust me, people let me know. But you may have Mockingbird enter as a copy of a creature on the battlefield with mana value less than or equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. It counts the blue mana as being 1, and then X, like if I made X is 2, that would be mana number 2 and mana number 3. But I did it for 4 just to poke fun at myself, pretty much. Hold on, I gotta pause my music. I can't even hear myself think. Oh, I genuinely don't know. That was a gaming experience for sure. So the main takeaway that I found, weirdly enough, I may have saw this, didn't matter, didn't see this, didn't see this, saw all this in different numbers. Here, left, felt fine. This, a little bit worse, because I didn't have a ton in my opener, but that's kind of not the point. But we did see it come clutch, making a copy of this with Mockingbird, which at the end of the day, these might just need cut to play more Mockingbirds. Like, I wouldn't mind cutting these and going to, like, 4 for the Mockingbird, and then maybe 1 more Bloodletter. Could be that, could not be. But either way, it actually felt nice because, again, I've talked about this when I played skeleton stuff in the past. The 3 mana slot was always our strongest spot, and that was typically where we build up 4 Corpse of the Lost, 4 Gix. And we used to play Rush of the Dread, which I could pull up here. Hopefully that just pulls it up. Yeah, so we used to play this, right? And this was to win the game with Bloodletter here, because this is a 1-2 punch combo. If you played Standard for a while, you'll know how this works. But if you don't, Bloodletter doubles damage, essentially. Or if they lose life, they lose twice that rounded up. This loses half their life, therefore being a one-shot kill. But in the new set, we got Unstoppable Slasher, which works with the Bloodletter. And we don't have to put a, I would argue, in a sense, a clunky spell in our deck. Because the 2/3 Death Toucher is so annoying. And we saw in the mono red matchup there, they just like didn't want to attack because they were going to lose their resources immediately. But Unstoppable Slasher being able to trade up with anything also comes back. I do think eventually Slasher, Bloodletter, and playing it in maybe like a Golgari build where you can remove counters from things with Glissa or something to remove the stun counters off of this whenever you deal combat damage with Glissa is nice. And then you have a lot of Death Touch and stuff like that, so it's a little interesting. But I think this helps fill out our deck on the lower end because we were typically here for the most part, barring whatever these cards would be. Like, obviously, we'd be on 4 Mockingbirds at that point, and then we'd probably play the enchantment that makes a 2/1 skeleton, which I was hoping Leyline would kind of take that card's place, where we kind of play some other things. Now, do I think maybe we need to 4-stack a 2-drop in this spot? That could also be possible. Like, go down on like these, like cut these entirely, and then play just like any kind of solid 2-mana creature. That could definitely be possible. I'm unsure about that. Obviously, this is day 1 of trying this out. At the end of the day, we won a lot of games. I actually didn't lose a game with this deck. I think when we started, that was game 1 to whatever game we ended on. I think we played like 6. I could be wrong. Obviously, it's a bit smaller of a video today because of how fast those matches go, but we didn't lose. However, did we get a little fortunate some of the matches? Did some of my calls / gambles pay off? Yeah. Like, could we have lost to enchantments? Of course. Could we have lost to mono red? Of course, if they had slightly better draws. But that can be said about a lot of things. As long as we're able to win the matchups when they don't maybe have the most optimal draws, we'll take that. And if any deck's playing like control, it's kind of where we focus at, kind of the same as them. And those matchups typically matter on who's on the play and who's on the draw. For example, like if I'm on the play against mono red, I feel significantly better about my odds of winning, but they were on the play, so we had to kind of keep up, and then we end up taking the game, which isn't something you can say too often against mono red regardless. But with that said, I'm gonna call it here. I had a good time. I had a fun time playing this deck. I went undefeated, so I'm not gonna risk it anymore. You know what I'm saying? We already won all of our games, so very cool. Other than that, I hope you all enjoyed. If anybody has any recommendations, I'll gladly take it. But the final note, I guess, if you're wondering, like, why did I put this in? Because I might not bring it up in the intro, just in case. I brought it in to be, like, tricky with Forsaken Miner and the Slasher. If the Slasher dies, it re-enters, and I draw cards. And we only need to draw so many cards. But this card is just, like, worse than Gix. Also, I started with Kaito in the deck at the beginning in case I ever found 2 ley lines, but then I cut that already, so it's a little weird. Outside of that, if you all enjoyed the video, I'm happy. If you didn't enjoy it, how did you get to this point? Sorry. Are you hate watching me? With that said, I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.